once I saw the light, it was just all this overwhelming love and light and bliss that my soul, I didn't even question it. I just flew into the light.
Hello and welcome to Passion Harvest. I am Luisa, your host. Thank you so much for joining me wherever you are in the world right now. I'm so excited about our guest today, Rafael Garcia. He died and was given the meaning of life. Rafael Garcia floated above his body and went into the light. He met lost loved ones on the other side and was introduced to the Council of Light, where he experienced a life review. Afterwards, he understood the dimensions of life from dimension 1 to 11, and 11 being the origin of consciousness, or the creator of the multi-universe, where you start seeing the fabric of all creation from the multi-universe. Rafael, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Welcome to Passion Harvest.
Thank you, Luisa. Likewise. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Oh my God, it's my pleasure. And gosh, your experiences are unbelievable for the audience. And there's so much more than this, but I'd love to start with your near-death experience.
Yes, of course. So I basically in 2004, I had a near-death experience, and there was just an energy that came into my room, and I was actually asleep, and then I woke up, and I thought it was a spirit because I felt a presence, and then all of a sudden I knew there was like a portal that came right above me. And as I saw that portal, I saw the light, and then once I saw the light, it was just all this overwhelming love and light and bliss that my soul, I didn't even question it. I just flew into the light, and I came out of my body, and I just dived into the light, and I went into that portal. And as soon as I stepped into that portal, I saw my family members on the other side, and they were all smiling, and they were all happy, and they were all really just laughing, and they came and cuddled me, and I was just like, it was really, it's just overwhelming. Like what's going on? You guys are here, like nice to see everybody. And then, so it was like this welcoming party, and they greeted me, and then after that, they all told me, well, we'll see you a little later, and then like you have to go. I saw a door and a chamber, and they told me you have to go over there now, and then we'll see you in a little bit. And I was like, okay. And then, so then I went into that door because I just knew I had to go in there. And once I walked inside that chamber, I saw what they call the Council of Light, which are like these like angels or archangels or just really old souls. And they were there greeting me with so much love. There's no judgment. There's not like you're in a courtroom or anything like that. It's like, it's just imagine like being your parents or your grandparents or your mom, it's like family members that love you, it's just like there's zero judgment. And so there's like, so for people that sometimes, the Council of Light, they're there to judge me. Nah, they love you unconditionally, And so I felt this peace and love. I just felt so much love. It was like, oh my God. And then so once I walked in there, they were like, okay, you've done a great job. We'd like to show you your life review, which is, like a whole movie about your life, so your whole life is being recorded as a movie. And then, so then I was able to, so then I realized that each one of the councils actually represented like a different lesson, life lessons that we're here to learn and to master, so that every life experience, everything is to teach us a lesson, and the lessons basically are like the virtues. So it will be, to be unconditional loving, to love, to be unconditional love, to be compassionate, to be kind, to be honest, to have integrity. Then there's the to be non-judgment, to not to judge anymore, to forgive, to let go, to be patient. So all the virtues that we're here to learn are basically all life experiences come to us to teach us one of those lessons. So if people are going through like a hardship in life or whatever it is, challenges in life, it's basically they're going to be to teach you like to let go, right? Like, you need to let go of this person, or you need to let go of the circumstances, or you need to let go of your life. Maybe you're in a in a bubble of comfort zone where, and then will have to leave. Or the universe itself will bring you experiences where you lose your job, or your marriage. You basically end up getting divorced or separated, or different circumstances in life that will have to come into your life, specific by your higher self, to teach you the lesson. So that's what I came to understand. So they show me that everything in life was there to teach us. And then in the life review, when I was shown the life review, it was really incredible because I actually, once I went to the life review, I saw like I helped this old lady cross the street. And when I helped that lady cross the street, this being of light, which is like represented compassion, kind of lit up and was like really proud of me. Like, this is what you show compassion. This is when you learn this trait. And then I was really happy. And then also I was able to become everything in that life review. I was able to become all the other people that were there that I interacted with. So I became this old lady crossing the street, and I saw the old lady become Rafael holding and laughing. I laugh a lot, so smile a lot. So I was just laughing, and I saw how the old lady was really appreciative of me. And then I became the trees, I became the rocks, I became the birds. You start becoming everything in the life review. So it's pretty fascinating that in that space you actually become everything. But I came to understand then at that point that and that's one of the messages I think that I would love to just to be able to tell people, to share people, that don't worry, all life experiences, like any people that are going through any difficult experiences, try to decode the life experience and try to see what lesson there's to be learned, because you're going to learn, is there to teach you. So if you see it from a higher perspective, then it's there to teach you a soul lesson. And then so that was that part of, then I saw the ripple effect too as well. So when I helped this old lady across the street, then I saw how the old lady went home and she called her daughter, and because she told her she loved her, and she told her about me, that I helped, help her across the street, that I was really sweet to her. And then her, she was so happy with her mom. And then that ripple effect with her husband and her kids. And then at her work, she was really happy because, so it was that ripple effect that you're able to see on how you're able to have an effect on people. So that's something too I would recommend people to try to do, like every night before you go to bed. Like meditate on your life review of the day. See like where you can have done better. Like, well, maybe I got angry, this time, or I got upset, or I wasn't patient, or whatever situation happened in your life. Try to do a little life review, like mini life review before you go to bed, and see how you could improve for the next day. So then comes the next day, and then you're like in the same situation, because the same situations will keep coming back and not back, because you have to learn the lesson. So then you'll be like, okay, well, I already know that, okay, I have to, not get so upset, or I have to learn the lesson to be patient, or I have to learn the lesson to whatever it is to be honest, or whatever it is. So if I feel like I always try to encourage people to do life reviews, like at the end of the night, like a little meditation, and that way they can reflect. So they don't have to wait until they die. Every day you can reflect on it and you can improve yourself. It's a personal development kind of tool that you can try to become a better you, or your higher self, right? So yeah, that was basically my experience in the life review. But then also they were at that point, they show me all. I was like, I became my higher self, and when I became my higher self, I was able to see all my parallel lives, all these lifetimes that were all like in a little sphere, like a bubble of light. Like it was white, and then I saw screens in those little bubbles, and there were like 1,000 all around me. Like imagine like little bubbles all around me, and they were all. And then I became one with my higher self, but I saw all those bubbles, and I knew at that point that each one of them have been alive. And then I realized at that point that they're all happening at the same time, because they're all there in that space and time. They're all the lifetimes are there just happening. They're all at different frequencies, but all the lifetimes are happening at the same time. And then I was able to see all that, and then I was able to I saw that I still had like 6 more bubbles to. So there's to complete the cycle. So there's a certain, the way I was shown, it's like we go. They're all happening at the same time, but at the same time you go kind of like in a one by one in the evolution of the soul until you kind of complete the cycle. So there is an end to the cycle when you don't have to reincarnate anymore. And then I was able to see that And then they show me what they actually told me. They show me that we want to tell you what comes next, so you can tell the world like what happens after you finish the cycle of reincarnation. Because I mean, I was just like, okay, sure. So when they show me that once we finish the cycle of reincarnation, some three beings of light came and they told me, we'll show you what comes next. And so then I walked out of the door, out of the chamber, and once I walked out of the door, I realized that this chamber had been the universe. As I look back, I was like, that's the universe. Like the chamber was like, it's like that was, and then the three beings of light, they were like my parents, so they were like really involved beings. And then I realized that like when I finished the cycle, I had the feeling like, okay, I have become an ascended master, but at the same time, then I compare myself to these beings of light that were like my parents. I felt like I was graduating from kindergarten. Like it was like I like, oh my God, here I was thinking you're becoming one with the universe or, ascended master. But at the end, it's like, you just graduating from kindergarten, and my parents, these really high beings, came to tell me, like, congratulations, you did really well. Okay, now we're going to show you what comes next. So once we came out of that room, the universe, there were other universes. And then they had a door as well. And then they told me, you can go to that universe if you want. In that other universe, you can become a creator. So you can start creating planets, you can start creating galaxies, suns, you can start creating lives. So then you start becoming a creator, basically. And then of course, in each one of those universes, there are levels as well, right? So you might start creating small organisms, and then you start creating, sentient beings, and then you start creating, I don't know, like just different planets, and then you start creating suns, and then you start creating. So then that's kind of like, so that was the creator realm or the creator universe. And then there was another school where you became like an Akashic record keeper of the multiverse. And then I was like, oh, okay, so you get to understand how all the information is stored across the multiverse because there's many universes. And then there was another school, which is like once you finish the cycle of reincarnation, you can go to this other school, it's like more like you become like a really advanced being, but like in other civilizations, in other planets, where everybody teleports, everybody has telepathy, everybody is working for the collective, everybody's working at higher dimensions of creation. So yeah, so I mean, it was just like really fascinating to see all these these other realms or universes. And then they told me after that, they're like, okay, and then they're like, they told me, okay, that's kind of what it is. And then they're okay, you can go now. And then I left that, and then I was like, okay. And then I saw the Akashic records, which is like, it was like columns of light. And then I saw it was infinite. And then I knew that that's where all the information is stored from lifetimes and just everything, all thoughts and everything is all stored there. And then there was like the Akashic record keepers, like large beings. They came and they just gave me a book. And then I opened the book, and the book was the book of Earth. So I was able to see the future of Earth, and I was able to see that eventually we'll reach that, utopia that we are longing for. And so, complete peace, like, so then I saw how all the systems is about to collapse, like all the, political and economic systems. So they're all going to collapse. So that's another thing that we like to tell people is like, don't worry about anything because things are going to get worse, but it's just so that the system can collapse so that we can then replace it with a new system that is based on integrity, in honesty, and, there will be no more militaries, none of that, that's going to be gone. So all that system about power and division of countries and poverty, that's all going to end. Then the countries are going to start uniting, like the European Union. They'll create the American Union, and then the African Union, the Asian Union. So all the countries are going to start uniting and helping each other. And then eventually they'll become one, and there'll be no more poverty, no more wars. And then then people are going to be like in the future, it'll be the norm. Reincarnation, it'll be like, yeah, like the Earth is round and we go around the sun. And then as a collective too, it was really interesting. I saw how we're evolving to multidimensional beings. So this is we're entering the fourth dimension. Now, as we are entering the fourth dimension, it's understanding that there is no death, basically, that we're and that there were multidimensional beings. So like I say, all these lifetimes are happening at the same time. So that's the fourth dimensional. And that's in the future, everybody will know, like, yes, of course, we're multidimensional beings. And you'll be able to connect to your other lifetimes You know, like, I mean, that's a long way to get there, but I don't know. But eventually everyone will be able to connect. So there's all these people that are having all these experiences. Are people starting to remember that, you know, we're multidimensional beings and that all these lifetimes are actually happening at the same time? And then that's another thing too. We're able to bring once we start having, you know, this access to these abilities or this remembering of our multidimensionality, then we can start basically starting to becoming to having access to our other selves, our other lifetimes, and because I've seen many of my lifetimes, and I was able to see that I was, you know, like just different ones. Like I was a banker, I was in Scandinavia, I was a Viking, I was a king, but I was also a slave. I was a soldier. I mean, you're able to see all kinds of things. But I think once you get to that point where ultimately the goal is to kind of to let go of all the sufferings. So that's the ultimate goal that I realized too, is the letting go. Because once you're able to let go of suffering, then that's when you're going to start having access to start being able to see other lifetimes. You see what I'm saying? Because maybe in a lifetime you're a slave and or something like that, something really kind of, you know, horrific or difficult. So, but once you transcend everything, you realize that it's all a dream, it was all illusion, it's all a hologram, and then you're able to transcend that, and then that's when you're going to start having access to seeing your other lifetimes, and then after you start seeing your other lifetime, then it's the next step. You see what I'm saying? The next step after start seeing them is start becoming one with them, or start playing things like okay, I'm going to start bringing this ability. You know, maybe I can in that lifetime I was an artist. So then you can start bringing that aspect of yourself, you know, or in this lifetime, I was, you know, I had whatever, I don't know, castles. So then maybe you can start bringing the aspects of yourself too into this lifetime. So it's something that I recently you know, I came to realize like, wow, that's so amazing that, you know, once you start reaching this level, then we can start extracting or becoming one with our other selves in the multiverse, which is there, you know, there's other use out there in the multiverse or this parallel lives that then you're going to start having access to, and then, you know, I'm becoming one with them. So I don't know if you have any questions. So
I do.
I do. Yeah.
Wow, what a bundle of energy and joy you are.
Thank
I'm
you.
backtracking. I do have lots of questions. Your near-death experience, what did the angels and the count, I'm talking in my humanness, what did the angels and the council like, what do they look like, and what do they feel like?
Yeah, they just look like, you know, like we were like white and they were like, I didn't actually see faces. I didn't see any faces, but they were just like kind of white and tall, and they were like sitting down in some kind of chairs as well, and they were like just ready. All they radiated was love, you know, and like even the council of forgiveness, you know, or the council of letting go, which are like the difficult experiences we experience as hardships and everything. But that being is just pure love. Because once you're able to reach this forgiveness, oh my God, that's when you become this love, right? Then you feel this peace in your being. So, you know, so it's not like, oh, you have these struggles with people and then you have to, you know, forgive. Like it's not a bad thing. It's actually magical. So that means they all radiated just unconditional, you know, incredible love that is beyond human understanding, actually. So, but then, you know, later on through after that experience, I started then going back to that place. And then, you know, so then it's part of the awakening. So once that was kind of like being unplugged from the matrix, that experience. And then later on, I went back. And later on, when I went back to see the council, it was really incredible because then they told me, well, we're all you. I became one with the council of light. And that ultimately, that's when once you start polishing more and more and more the lessons, then you start realizing that the council is really you. They're fractions of us, you know. And then I remember they like even told me you can sit down in one of these chairs as well. And I sat down with the council, and then we all became kind of one. And so it was really incredible too, that experience. But basically, yeah, they're just radiant love, and you know, I didn't see faces, but they were just beings of light, and they were white, but they did tell me that they were me, you know, and I became one with them. Then I became all of them, So yeah, that was the other thing that I
Amazing.
found fascinating with the Council of Light. That that's the other thing that I like to share is like they're really you.
I
They
know.
really are
And
those aspects of us.
yes, I agree. And I love how you expressed your life review. Not only, for example, you were describing you helping that woman across the street. You not only experienced that plus the ripple effect, but how she felt. So it's like you're just part of everything.
Yes. So that was the other thing too, that it was just like incredible, in the life review, because I did not just become other people. I started becoming, it was incredible. I became the bees, I became the birds, I became yeah, like everything, like all the animals and the stones, the build, I became the buildings. I mean, you actually I mean it was pretty profound because I was like, you kind of start becoming everything. You
Yeah.
start becoming everything, and it was like very, very yeah, it was really powerful, very for sure. I was just like, wow, you start becoming everything. And then also you start seeing how everything, like, the tree, when I became the tree, for example, I was radiating all this love and oxygen. And then I was appreciating everybody that came to my space, and on the bird too, like I was the little bird and I was just like, enjoying the nature and then, seeing the people and then just kind of like, it was really fascinating to be able to become everything. But, I think the life review was just there to really, to help us understand that, like, to understand, to reflect on our actions, on our deeds, and that eventually we want to make peace with everyone, and for you to be at peace, and that's the ultimate goal, right? So to find that inner peace. So then, but yeah, I definitely, always, I think the life review, it's an incredible tool that use it as a tool for people to use that as a tool to try to reflect, for this, how can I become a better person? So ultimately, you want to become the best person you can be, right? And that's becoming your higher self. So that's mastering the lessons again. So but yeah, it was pretty fascinating for sure. It was really fascinating. And then I have also become different, like, what, oh, then after I saw the future of Earth, which is the utopia. So I would say people, like, please don't worry. Like, like, don't worry, there's no more wars. That's all. This is basically the 3D is coming to an end. And we already are like entering the fourth dimension. We're like scratching the surface of the fourth dimension. But as we enter in the fourth dimension basically is transparency. And that's why the system is about to collapse. It's inevitable because in order for the collective to enter the fourth dimension, there can be no corruption. There can be no, lies, secrets about the governments and all this stuff. So that's why this whole thing is going to crumble. And it's all going to be exposed. Like I saw how the next 10 years they will be known as the age of trials. There'll be a lot of trials. After that, there'll be new leaders like you, like a young woman like you,
Oh,
coming
thank you.
in
I'm not that young, but thank you.
like, no,
I'm only 19,
like,
but
but, someone like you becoming a president, becoming and changing the world for the better, right? Like, enough of these wars, enough of this, like, let's all work for the collective, let's all work for no more poverty. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it's going to shift. And then,
well,
okay, so then after
you answered my question because I was about to ask, in our humanists, there is no time, but what's the time frame that you see this? And after, within the next 10 years or after 10 years?
yeah, within the next 10 years, this is going to be like the age of trials, like I said. So the whole system is going to be, collapsing. And basically then it's like, okay, let's integrate a new system with blockchain, and let's integrate, everything will be for the collective. Everything will be for the collective. And then it'll be gradual. Then they're going to start creating the unions. And then, they're going to start helping third world. Instead of putting all the money in military, they'll put it on the infrastructure of third world countries, and they'll help, and to help the people. So it'll be more like a system like Scandinavia. I think it's all, for free education, free healthcare, and then bringing new bodies of work, like, how can we help the world become a better place? So then there'll be a lot of organizations, and people will be, their work will be, there's not going to be no more office work. AI is going to take care of all that. And then people are going to be able to go after, causes like, oh, maybe I want to save the environment. So then you're going to be able to, that work, doing that kind of work, or I want to work on raising the level of consciousness. So then you can do that kind of work. So people are going to be able to do whatever they want, or I want to do podcasts and or I want to do this and this, and so it'll be more like people are going to be able to do what they love instead of the system that has been like more like you have to go to work in an office and sit down and like that's going to end as well. So it'll be more like a system that people are going to be doing what they love, and then the government itself is going to be like having that balance for people, and it'll be like creating new institutions and everything. So yeah, I mean that we're basically really close to for this. First is going to have to collapse so that we can
so almost like
make it better.
2033 onwards.
Yeah, exactly. So then this is like basically it'll be for me to see that was incredible, just because I'm like so it's going to be magical, and it's pretty magical times too. So I would say for people not to get depressed or upset if if they're going to start seeing a lot of stuff with government, that this corruption and all this stuff, instead of see it like a blessing, like, oh my God, so then it's like, okay, then once it goes down, then it's like, okay, then a new system needs to be integrated, and then it'll be a system based on integrity, on compassion, so it's what I saw in that book, that book over. And then after that, after I was at the Casio Records, I gave back the book. I should have brought back the book with me, right? But I gave it back.
You did. Well, not physically, but yes, you did.
It's in my mind, so I can share it with you. And then, and then it's kind of funny too, because I saw like even once we reach that utopia where there's peace and everything, that's not even the end, that's just the beginning of then humanity then going to like the Star Trek level, where civilizations from all over the galaxy will be coming into Earth, and that will be actually, it's like once we reach utopia, it's not even like the end, like that's just, we're barely graduating from kindergarten as a collective. And then that's when we're going to be interacting with different civilizations across the galaxy and the universe. So that's what I saw.
2033 onwards.
That's still a little while for that, but yeah, that's what I saw. And then after that, they told me, okay, you can go to there's like different dimensions. So then I was able to see that there were different realms or dimensions. And then they said, and then they actually say you can go back to you can go to your group. So there's like different groups, different levels, the groups and stuff. But at that point, I realized that if I went to my group, I wasn't going to come back to Rafael's body. So I was just like, and at that point, I was like, I kind of felt like I needed to kind of like say goodbye to my family in a way, And so I was like, no, you know what? Let me go back, and then I'll come back. I'll come back in 6 months. I asked for like a 6 month extension, and then they said, okay, you can go back. But I was able to see that there were different dimensions, and then I came back. But later on, through my awakening, I was able to explore those other dimensions and realms, and which is something I could share with your audience as well, which is really. I just thought it was really interesting.
I'd love to hear about them. I just want to ask you 2 more questions.
Yes, of course.
You spoke about parallel lives. Just to clarify, people talk about, for example, Raphael is living multiple lives in this incarnation. When you refer to parallel lives, is that what we term as past lives or future lives? Different incarnations, not multiple versions of the self as we know it.
For me, it's the same thing. It really is the same thing. Like there are multiple versions of yourself, or past lives, or future lifetimes, or parallel lives. For me, it's the way I was shown, or the way I've seen it for myself. They're all the same, So it's like you can call it parallel universes, or you can call it past lives, or future lifetimes, or just fractions of yourself. So for me, it was all the same thing. For me, is my understanding. The way I was shown to me, and it was like, I imagine I'm like, my higher self is like up here. So I became one with my higher self up here. And then once I was up there, I saw, like, again, I looked down, and then there was all around me like a circle. Imagine like a whole circle around me with like 1,000 little bubbles around. So that's like, I mean, that's the way it was shown to me. So then I was able to see that was just, I was experiencing all those little bubbles um, through lifetimes, through past and future, but they're all happening at the same time. But yeah, they were all just fractions of me, so that I can experience all these experiences, so that I can basically master the lessons. But they're all, yeah, they were just fractions of us, but it's like, and they're all happening at the same time. But there is some kind of linear, because I've been able to see many past lives, like in Greece, in Egypt, in medieval times, and in just different ones, being a Maya, being in China, but then I also see a future lifetime as well. I was able to see one of my future lifetimes when I'm gonna be living in London. But yeah, I mean, they're all really just, they're all you, and they're all just fractions of you. But you gotta, the goal is to try to become one with your higher self. And then I am like saying, I am a being of light using Luisa's body, or I'm a being of light using all these other bodies. You see what I'm saying? So I'm a being of light that I'm just using all these different vehicles to experience all of it, and to learn and master the lessons, and so that I can become one again with my higher self. And it's kind of more or less how it was shown to me. And then ultimately you get to the level, once you start kind of like mastering more of the lessons, you get to the level you start connected to your higher self, and then you start seeing all those lifetimes. And then it was really interesting too, the way I travel. I saw the lifetimes. Once I became one with my higher self, I looked at one of the bubbles, and then I traveled in a wormhole, and like astral project, and like from my higher self, I traveled a wormhole into that capsule. And as I went into the capsule, it was really incredible. I all of a sudden, I'm like coming in like a comet into the earth, and I'm flying in. It's my soul, but it's just flying in like a comet. And then as I'm flying in, I see the first lifetime I ever saw I was a Viking, but I saw the countries like Sweden, and I'm flying in Sweden, and then I'm like, like just kind of like Superman. My soul is just flying, and then I see all the trees, all the nature, and I'm just flying through all that, and then I see a little village, and then then I'm going into the village, and then I see a little house, and I see this little house, and I just go into the house, and once I walk in there, my soul is just like sees all this family with this man with his kids, and I see this man, and then I go inside him, and I was just like, oh my God! So here I am. I'm like, I was with my kid, and I was just like, and I saw my wife, and they're all cooking, and my little girl, my daughters, and I was just like, oh my! But it was just for a second, and then I came out, and then I went back to my higher self, and like that, yeah, I went into many lifetimes, to fractions of myself, like like I was in Greece, like the Korean democracy, and then I was like a slave as well, African American slave, and then I was a soldier, and I was a king, and you're even a woman, so it's like you're like, it's just, you're able to see like all these lifetimes that I've seen it. I haven't seen that many. I mean, I saw that there were like 1,000, but I've probably seen like maybe 20, like 20 lifetimes. And then I saw a future lifetime as well, that they're going to be living in London. But yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating. And for me right now, what's so exciting is like it start tapping into that level, or like then I want to, I'm not there yet, but I think this is where my evolution, where I'm going, is like I'm going to start becoming one with my other selves, and then start bringing those certain fractions of myself, or start traveling there again if I want to, like. But again, to be able to get to that level, you really have to let go of the suffering. Because like, imagine you, Luisa, all of a sudden come to your higher self, and then you go to another lifetime where you have another family, kids, and other stuff. Like, then, you cannot be attached. It's like, you gotta love. I think the ultimate goal is to love everything, but do not be attached to anything. Because then if you went to the other lifetime with your other kids, you would probably be like, like, oh my God, I cannot live with my kids now. So it's like, it's the whole thing with the attachments, that it's ultimately, you gotta kind of let go of everything, and then realize that it's all a dream, it's all a simulation. So I think that's also, when people say it's all a dream, a Maya, an illusion, I think that's just a tool so that people can learn not to get attached so much to things, right? So that's one of the tools that I think that is really helpful, that it can help if, well, so that when you start having more of these experiences, you're ready to see them, because your higher self will show them to you when you're ready, when it's like, when you pass all the lessons, right? Because your higher self will keep bringing you experiences, and then you have to pass the lessons. You have to pass the test. So
Oh
yeah,
my
that's kind of
gosh,
how it
it's
works.
it's it's amazing, but so intricately mind-blowing. Now I've got two more questions, and then I want to move on to the dimensions. The
Oh yeah, yeah.
few
Ask me as many, please ask me as many
the
questions as you want. Ask me. Like,
the future self that you saw in, I think you said London, it's
mhm.
happening, well, it is happening now because there is only now. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that was one of the things that it was really mind blowing when some of the first time I saw it. I'm like, it's so crazy that those 6 lifetimes more that I have, they're happening now, right now, right this second.
Um,
But so all those other lifetimes, my past ones, but yeah, those future lifetimes and the past one, they're all happening now as we speak, which is pretty incredible. I mean, it's
so
difficult
you
to
know you
grasp.
have six, what we term as the future, that you have six more future lives.
Yes, that's what I was showing, that I had 6 more to kind of finish the cycle. I think that once you finish the cycle, you can extend, you can keep coming back kind of like as much as you want, but ultimately you probably get to a point where like, okay, I mastered all this. It's like wanting to stay in kindergarten forever. You're not gonna want to stay in kindergarten.
I know.
Or
I mean,
maybe you might want to stay.
I have people ask me all the time, I don't want to, people say to me all the time, I don't want to come back. How can I get out of this
Yeah,
physical earth life? Do you
you
know
gotta
the
master the
answer?
lessons. Yeah, you gotta master the lessons.
Okay,
But I mean, that's where I just came to understand that at
sure.
the end is we gotta master. That's why you have to become an ascended master. An
Yeah.
ascended master means a master of lessons that
Everyone
you're able
wants a
to.
quick fix though, but there's no quick fix. um,
I know, right?
in our humanness, my gosh, and particularly for the audience that are suffering, whatever the situation might be, losing a loved one or circumstances in life, you spoke about suffering. What's your advice? And I know you've touched on this. What's your advice for the audience if they're suffering, if they're depressed, whatever their circumstances may be?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that first of all, like be aware that there is no death. Like because like death doesn't exist. It's like if you lost someone or if you're going through hardships or whatever, like first of all, it's like there is no death. I think that's probably the most important thing that we are immortal, that you never die, that your soul keeps on going. And it's probably one, and then the second one would be like try to understand that it's all to teach you a lesson. So it's like, what's the lesson? So well, I probably need to let go because I understood that that's probably the hardest one and the ultimate one that the most difficult one probably is the letting go. So so it's like try to learn the lesson and understand that that it's okay. Like the letting go is just to heal you and then that no matter what, like with circumstances, you'll transcend it, and then you'll keep going. Then your soul never dies, so you'll keep on going. So everything is to heal you. So like the letting go is to heal you, right? So don't hold on to anything, and it's understand, and then look at the positives. I always try to look at like okay, well maybe this situation didn't work in my life with this relationship or whatever, but look at how much you've grown so much, right? You are the person you are now thanks to that relationship, right? Like you wouldn't be who you are today if you hadn't been through those hardships or those difficult times or those kids you might have children with. Maybe you got separated, but at the end it's like you wouldn't have your kids, and that so try to focus on the positives, on the gratitude. I think it's instead of focusing on the hardships, focus on the gratitude. Like, well, at least I'm still here, I'm alive, and I have my beautiful children, or I'm just breathing. For me, like every day is a blessing just because I was able to come back. Like so I feel for me like I already know where we're going, but it's like another day. It's just okay. I'm just gonna enjoy it and have a good time because just being alive is like most people don't even realize like in itself. You're like we're in the lotto. You're like God, you're still alive. Enjoy it. So just try to look at the positives. The gratitude, everything you have, and then understand that maybe it's all an illusion. I see that as it's very difficult for most people to understand, but for me, it's like it's all a dream. So try not to get too caught up on all the dramas and the news or whatever it is, like so that's just a tool. So I would say then, to sort of to forgive as well, if you have to, forgive someone, it's like and again, it's all for you, right? Everything's for you. Like your heart, we're electromagnetic beings that are attracting experiences into our lives to teach us. So it's everything's for you, like everything, everything. So if you try to see it from that perspective, and like I have, I try to decode life lessons, and I say, okay, what is this? So if you sit down and do a meditation at nighttime, and then whatever is triggering you, whatever's difficult experiences you're going through, then I'm trying to decode it. Try to say, okay, this life experience, why am I so upset, or why is this hardships? Okay, well, I need to let go, or I need to forget. So then meditate on that, right? So and then I would say, like, I would recommend like a process that I think is really helpful. Like, let's say forgiveness. So I would first say the first step is like, maybe somebody needs to forgive you. So maybe start with that. Like, you don't have to talk to anybody. It's just within you. Say, well, maybe I did something that I wasn't proud of, with my parents, or I said something to my husband, or I said something to my kid, or whatever. Something that you might regret, that you said something, you did something. So you can just start there. So say, okay, please forgive me. Like, you can say it inside, you can say it to the person, or you can just say it inside you. So first start from that space, like you asking for forgiveness. So that kind of like sets everything in motion. So it's like, okay, so you're asking for forgiveness because you feel maybe you shouldn't have said something or whatever. And then that's, you're working on that. And then the next step is like understanding that it's all to heal you, and that it's all and then the third step is for you then to let go, and again, just to understand that it's like, it's the best for you, right? Because if you keep on holding on to things, then the only one that is hurting is yourself, so understand that the best thing is just to let it go, and then focus on whatever positive things you have, right? The gratitude, and then focus on your dreams too, put your thoughts into something that are going to be productive, or put your thoughts in a dream. Oh, my dream is to move to France, or to another country, or to travel, or to start my own business, or to do a podcast. So your energy, you're focusing on your dreams. So that way, then you're, instead of like thoughts of the past, so I think that could be something that people can also try to do. So try to learn the lessons, decode the lessons, let go, forgive, whatever, and then focus on positive things, the gratitude, and then on your dreams. So that's what I would probably recommend for people to do. Any
Beautiful
other questions?
advice. No, on a final note, I'd love you to talk about the dimensions.
Yeah, okay. Of course.
Which is a massive subject, but I'm leaving it up to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'll talk about it. And again, it's like, what can I say? I feel like I barely opened my eyes to, and I really, that's really what it is. I feel like a baby crawling and just, like scratching the surface of, sorry, of understanding, of seeing them. It's like, I don't know anything about. I'll share with you what I've seen, which, it's just very, scratching the surface again. But I think at the end, it's pretty magical. I don't think many people have seen him, but at the end, it's just to share it, so that when people start having the experiences as well, or just for people to be aware, I think that's really interesting. So yes, I would love to share with you, Mike. So when again, when I had my NDE, I was able to see that there was different dimensions. So I didn't go into those dimensions at that point. And then I ended up coming back, but then later on, I had started with my awakening, my experiences. Basically, with my awakening, or Kundalini awakening, is you basically then start having out of body experiences, and then you start becoming one with the universe. And then I would start, I would go back to the council of light, so then basically it's this whole process of them remembering, and then I went into the dimensions as well. So that was then later on, after my NDE, was more like the awakening. So then that's how I started, exploring all these other realms or dimensions. So what I was shown basically was that we evolve from different dimensions or realms, and so from what I saw was like, in like, again, and it doesn't mean that I'm right with, because sometimes people will say different dimensions, they categorize them differently. And that's just a point of reference. At the end, even forget dimensions, it's all one, right? So if I say dimension 6, 7, or in dimension 8, that might be dimension 6 for another person, or it might be 10, like there is no right. Like if I said there is 11 dimension or 12, maybe there's actually infinite, but at the end it's like, I'm just, don't worry so much about, for people like, oh, this person said there's this dimensions, this person says that dimensions, or this person said this dimension is this, you're saying, it's like, don't worry about so much about, how you label the dimensions. It's just information at the end, so that's, but for me, the way I experienced it myself was when I saw them, that I was basically able to explore the different dimensions. First, I went into the first dimension. So when I went into the first dimension, it was like the realm. So that was the quantum realm. And I was able to then become the atom. And then as I became the atom, it was going into the quantum realm. It was pretty incredible. I was able to see all the codes. There's all the codes like in the Matrix, like in the movie The Matrix. I saw all these codes I became one with the center of the atom. And then I saw all the codes that were flying all over the atom. Like it was something incredible. It was like, I was just like, wow, there's all these codes inside me or in the atom, and then all those codes are like the codes in the simulation, basically. And because everything is made out of atoms and everything is the simulations, everything is codes. Like we're living in a simulation. That's kind of when I came to understand that like, wow, that's where people talk about that we're in a simulation. Yeah, we're in a simulation. And then there's like all the codes, right? Like that they're composed of simulation. And then all those codes kind of like store information, so then like all your like lifetimes and everything, they're all stored in those codes. Kind of like, imagine the codes kind of like being like a mini Akashic record, like a Akashic record. So basically, so that's what I saw then, all the codes. And again, I just seen the codes and I haven't been able to, like, I know that there's a level that you can start modifying the codes and then you can start modifying the simulation, but I'm not there, but I just know that that's how it works. But yes, I was able to become the atom, and then I saw all the codes. And then I just saw that everything was connected at the quantum realm, and then that it was all happening at the same time. And that really helped. Becoming the atom really helped me later on understand a little more about how all lifetimes are entangled, like, all these parallel lives, they're quantum entangled, like, so they're all connected and they're all entangled. And that's the whole thing with the quantum realm, right? Like quantum physics talks about, everything's connected, or atoms are, communicating with each other different within time and space at the same time. It's the same thing. Like all your lifetimes are connected and interconnected, and they're all communicating with each other. And but yeah, so that was the first dimension that I was able to see was the quantum realm. So then, so it was really, and again, it's just scratching the surface, but that's something that I think was fascinating. That I was able to see the codes, and I was able to understand that yes, we're living in a simulation. So, and then after that, I went into the second realm, or could call dimension two, and that was more like then understanding that we then becoming like microorganisms, like cells, and and then we become so again, everything's for the soul to experience all these different levels of consciousness. So then in the second dimensional realm, then there's the microorganisms, and then there's like you become plants, trees, and then animals. So that's kind of like the second realm. And then I became the plants, I became cells, and then I became animals as well. So it was like kind of like becoming all of them. And then again, it's just for the experience, just for the experience of evolution, of having an experience, because the universe itself just fragmented itself into zillions of beings just to experience, just for the fun, basically. And then so that was in the second realm, the second dimension. And then the third was basically kind of like where we're now, having this experience of duality and this experience of understanding, the life experiences and hardships, but then it's all about mastering the lessons, and then just to experience what it is to be a human being, so then that's the third realm, the third dimension. And then there's the fourth dimension, which is where we're heading, as a collective. And then in the fourth dimension for me, and that's again for when people have an NDEs, when they see the light, for me, that's the portal to the fourth dimension. They're entering fourth dimension. So or people that are having out of body experiences is the same thing. They're having access to the fourth dimension. So in the fourth dimension, for me, it's basically when you start becoming one with your higher self. You see what I'm saying? Like that's when you're scratching the surface of opening your eyes to your higher self. And then at that fourth dimension, then you start seeing that then all these other lifetimes, right? Then you start seeing like, oh, okay, the parallel universe or your parallel lives, or and then you start where that's where time and space collapses, and then that's where also there's like transparency, right? Like in the fourth dimension is complete transparency because then you're already in the realm where everything's known, like telepathy and nothing can be hidden in the fourth dimension. And that's why as a collective, that's why the system is about to collapse because it's just, in the fourth dimension, there's all transparency. You see what I'm saying? So the system that we've had all this time is, based on lies and corruption. But that's why it's going to collapse. It's inevitable because for us to ascend to the fourth dimension as a collective, it can only be transparency, but nothing else. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's about to collapse. And then that's why there'll be a new system based on integrity and transparency and stuff. And then that's why, reincarnation will be proven. I don't know. I don't have its exact date, but I would say within the next 20 years, 10 to 20 years, like maybe 20 years, but I don't know. But reincarnation will be like scientifically proven through quantum mechanics, like how the parallel universe all connect. So they'll they'll win a Nobel Prize. Like, yeah, the parallel universe theory is true and reincarnation is true scientifically. So that'll be the new norm. And then, so then at the fourth dimension, then basically it's like where we start becoming these quantum beings. So, so then that's what, and then in the future too, like in the near future or the future, talking about your other selves, that'll be the norm, and then you're going to start being able to travel to those. But that's a little further down. But that's at the fourth dimension. At the fourth dimension, then you start becoming your higher self. And then you start basically, start seeing all these other lifetimes in the parallel universe or these other lifetimes that are happening now. And then you're going to start having access to those other lifetimes. And then you start having, and then you start understanding like, okay, I can actually start becoming one with my other selves, But at the end, it's like you understand that it's about kind of like mastering the lessons. So that's kind of like the fourth dimension. And then the fourth and the fifth, I mean, I label it as the fifth, just in a sense, just to be able to give more of a reference point. Like okay, you kind of like already know that time and space is all one, that all lifetimes are happening simultaneously. But then at the fifth dimension, basically that's when you become like an ascended master. So that's when you kind of like basically able to see all the lifetimes completely. And you sort of kind of like graduate from that, from your cycle. And then at that point, you can then start becoming anyone throughout time and space in history. So then you start becoming the collective, so like, okay, I want to become, Christopher Columbus, I want to become Abraham Lincoln, or I want to become anyone throughout time and space. At the fifth dimension, then you can start becoming all of them. And then you start becoming the whole collective throughout time and space. And just humans, you start becoming everything. So then, and then you become the council light completely, So at the fifth dimension, it's becoming a council light, it's becoming an ascended master, and then it's becoming one with the collective. And then at that point too, you start going into that kind of like realm of universe where I told you that then you start exploring yourself as a really advanced being in other civilizations. So it's kind of how I label it at the fifth dimension. Then you can start exploring yourself as a being in another, in other planets, and then you're throughout, I don't know, millions of years, you can start exploring yourself as many beings throughout the universe, and then even of the multiverse as well. So that's kind of like at the fifth. So the fifth dimension, I think, is really goes on for a long time because you start exploring yourself as a sentient being, but yet with really advanced abilities and throughout the universe and throughout different planets and throughout the multiverse. And then at the sixth dimension, the sixth realm, that's kind of like where you kind of don't even need a body anymore. And that's kind of like where I said before, it was like the creator realms. So that's kind of like where you then start creating planets. So for me, like the sixth is more like you start becoming a creator of planets. And then you become the planets as well. So then you become those planets. And then at the seventh dimension realm, you start becoming a creator of stars. So then you start creating suns, and then you become suns. And then at the eighth dimension, you start becoming a creator of galaxies, and then you become galaxies. And then at the ninth dimension, you kind of become the universe, or start creating the universe. And then you start understanding how the whole universe works. You know, that's at the ninth dimension. And then at the 10th dimension is you start becoming the multiverse. And then you start creating different multiverse. And then at the 11th dimensions, you kind of become the source, like the source of the multiverse. And then at that point, like from what I've seen, you know, then you can start at the 12 dimensions, kind of like start exploring other sources with other universes. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like as much as I saw. So yeah, it's something like that. That was like, again, just scratching the surface of
my
of
gosh.
kind
I
of
mean,
evolution.
what incredible experiences you had. And it doesn't, you know, we talk about time, but this information you came back with was wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's lifetimes of information. It might have happened in our time as of minutes or hours, but my gosh, amazing.
Yeah.
And it's still,
amazing.
you know, it's still processing. From all near-death experiences, you know, it can take years in our time to process and receive more information.
Oh no, yeah. Like it's taking me, I mean, it was 2000, it was taking like 17 years, 18 years to, well, now it all seems like normal, and it all seems like so simple.
We're very normal on Passion Harvest.
I know, like all of this for me now is like, oh yeah, this is so normal. But for a long time, like wow, man, talk about just being like overwhelmed. Like I think it took me 5 years as well, like 5 years to feel like I landed back on Earth. You know, like when I was first having the experiences, it was overwhelming. Like I wasn't here anymore. I mean, I was here and I was working in a restaurant, and you know, and I was still, but I wasn't really here, man. It took me, and then I remember after 5 years, I felt like I finally landed back on Earth, and I'm like, man, I needed to land back on Earth because it was pretty overwhelming with all these experiences. So yeah, it took a long time, definitely, to
Rafael,
to adjust.
I can't. I've got the biggest smile on my face. You just make me smile. I can't stop smiling the whole time you've talked. And I want to say thank you so much for sharing all your experiences. They're just incredible. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with the Passion Harvest audience?
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, I would just say that, you know, whatever, like follow your dreams, you know, like follow your dreams, like for everybody, right? Like whatever you're passionate about, you know, like please don't hold on, you know, like whatever it is that you want to do in your life, please follow that. Like your compass is your heart. And you know, so whatever is it that you want, and that's the direction that you need to follow. And so follow your dreams, and then follow, you know, and then try to always come from that perspective of, you know, what are these life lessons to teach, you know, why are they here to teach me? Like, why am I to learn from these life lessons? And, you know, because I have a website as well where I, you know, I'm trying to help people decode their life lessons. And so my website is decodinglifelessons.com. And I'm trying to help people. Then basically it's like, yeah, so I would just say, try to decode your lessons, whatever lessons you're going through in your life. Is like just understand that everything's to teach you, to make you wiser, to make you an ascended master. Maybe that would be a good way to say it, you know.
Fantastic message. And I also will leave a link in the show notes below for people who didn't get that. You just have to click on the link to your website.
Oh yes, of course.
Rafael, thank you so much for being on Passion Harvest. Wow, what a bundle of wealth of information. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Luisa. I'm really happy to share this with you, and yeah, for the people to hear, and to however that it helps them, you know, in their life, and just to understand that it's all going to be fine, that there is a divine plan, and that, you know, we're all heading for that utopia, and don't worry about anything. Just, you know, focus on yourself, and that we're eternal, we're multidimensional, and that you know, just enjoy life, enjoy every day.
Thank you. Dreams. Beautiful. So also true. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luisa. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on your
show.
Okay, bye.
Please do subscribe for weekly passionate, inspirational interviews.